Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Building Your Life podcast with John Browning. And I have a special guest today, Paige Arnof-Fenn. And some of you have asked the question because you know that I have exited big Wall Street and gone independent. I'm completely independent. I use my contacts from Wall Street and I use TD Ameritrade and Schwab as far as custody and all that. But I am making a go of it completely independent so that I believe I can do the right thing for my clients as opposed to maybe kind of the right thing for your clients and kind of the right thing for the firm. And a lot of you have asked, wow, I'm part of a big corporate atmosphere right now. I'd really like to try and use all the skills I've learned at what I do best and be a little bit more entrepreneurial. But then again, I am kind of scared to death to do that. And, and Paige, both I and Paige have some experience there. And I asked Paige to kind of come on. She has founded, right, Mavens and Moguls, and this is what she does full time, right?
Full time, 21 years.
21 years. So it can be done, right? And by the way, I don't you what did you start when you were like 3? Because
Thank
there's
you.
just no way. So I'm sitting here with my white hair that I cut really short so people don't notice. So Paige, tell us a little bit about, first of all, Mavens and Moguls. I'm just curious as to that. That's a cool name.
So, we're a marketing and branding company, and I figured if we can't brand ourselves and come up with a good name, no one's going to take us seriously. So I jokingly referred to the women in the group as the marketing mavens and the guys as the marketing moguls. And
Uh,
for short, I call them Mavens and Moguls. And for those of you that don't know, Maven is a Yiddish word for expert, or my great grandmother would have said know it all. And we are marketing experts. A mogul is someone of rank, power, or distinction in a specified area, if you look it up in Merriam-Webster. And I just think of us as the marketing network of, marketing experts. And we've stuck with it ever since.
for 21 years. Now, there has to be a reason. Did you just start being an entrepreneur? Tell me how that happened
Not
and
at all.
sort of
In the
why.
80s, when I graduated from college in the 80s, Michael Douglas had just won the Oscar for the first Wall Street movie.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I too started my career on Wall Street at Morgan Stanley in 1987 as a financial analyst for 2 years. And I did mortgage-backed securities and corporate finance and M&A. I don't really talk about that anymore, but that's where I started too. And then I went back to business school and kind of rebranded myself and got a summer internship in marketing between first and second year. Went back into marketing and I've been in it ever since. So my first chapter of my marketing career was at big corporate marketing jobs at Procter and Gamble, Coca-Cola. These are like, major global consumer products marketers. Then in the kind of mid late 90s, I got bitten by the dot-com bug. When the internet started taking off, I just saw this shiny object and got really intrigued. And I left my big cushy corporate job at Coke. I was the assistant chief marketing officer there.
Wow.
And I became the head of marketing at a startup out in Los Angeles, Internet 1.0. We went public in 99 and we were sold to Yahoo. It became Yahoo Music. Then I did another startup as the head of marketing and we were sold to Bertelsmann. And then I did another startup as the head of marketing and we went public and were sold as well. So I did kind of 3 venture-backed startups that all had nice exits. I call them my 3 base hits. I didn't work for Google or Facebook or LinkedIn. So I'm not Sheryl Sandberg. I didn't make $2 billion, but I did make a little money 3 times. I had a ball. But when 9/11 hit, marketing jobs dried up pretty much across the board. You're old enough to remember, people, the stock market didn't used to drop 400 or 500 points every, blue moon. Like that was like a really big deal. after 9/11, all the startups were worried that they would never be able to raise money again. Let's conserve cash. Let's cut our marketing. Let's fire everybody. So I had just gotten bought out of my third startup, and I really was just going to take a pause while things were settling down. But because I knew so many venture capitalists and private equity investors on both coasts, because the startups were in LA and Boston, people started coming out of the woodwork asking me for help to do marketing for their portfolio companies and their businesses that no longer had a marketing department, but they had stuff they needed to get done. So they called and said, Paige, can you help me? My first reaction was, I'm not a consultant. I never worked on the agency side. I'm the chief marketing officer. I do the work. They're like, yeah, we don't need PowerPoint. We don't need advice. We need somebody who knows what to do, who can roll up their sleeves and help us get stuff done. So my husband said, Paige, there's a big red flashing light in front of you. These people need your help. You've been doing this for decades. Call people, help them, send them an invoice. And I said, okay, I can do that. And then I rounded up a bunch of people that I used to love working with in my corporate life and my startup life, classmates of mine from school, who were the best marketers I knew in my career. And like I said, I had these men and women who were awesome. I referred to them as the marketing mavens and marketing moguls. We came up with a logo. We built a website, and we were open for business. And we started out with a few projects. And I thought, we're helping out a few friends. It's a really weird time in the economy. We'll get these projects done and then we'll all go back to real work. Well, that was 21 years ago and I'm still doing it. Like John, I never expected to be an entrepreneur. I thought I was going to be Meg Whitman when I grew up. I was going to go run a big Fortune 500 company. That's why I went to P&G and Coke. And I just followed other opportunities and here I am.
Well, you said a couple things in there that resonate. One was you had done it for long enough that you had become a maven yourself in your niche, in your industry, and what you do. And in that period of time, not only did you become an expert, but you also gained one of the most important things that comes with experience, which is great contacts.
Yeah, an amazing network.
People that, like, there are frankly a lot of people that I have no desire to work with again. But hey, I'm not saying anything bad about them, but there are some people that frankly you just don't gel with. And the ones who at that point in your career, you knew the ones who are going to be able to do the work and not be a pain in the rear end to work with.
Absolutely.
And would work as a team. And that is kind of what makes you successful. And what I always point out is and when I do some business consulting, especially at the larger firms, they don't want to hire people who are, and it's just a fact. Like, it's actually been proven. Anybody over 50 kind of doesn't really get looked at anymore. And they don't want to hire you. Oh, they're just going to, go, or they're going to leave or whatever. And some of that I'm sure is true. But what are they passing over? And then when they do that early retirement thing, they send all their really experienced people packing. And I just don't think most businesses understand the value that is there. And they just don't get it, which is fascinating to me, because then you can go out, be an entrepreneur, and then they need you.
No, absolutely. My network, I've got about 4 dozen independent contractors who all work under the Mavens and Moguls umbrella. And like me, they have decades of experience and they can hit the ground running. I mean, they've been in the marketing role in virtually every capacity throughout their career. So I always tell people, our clients are not, this is not a typical agency or consultant relationship. Our heads and our hearts are much more aligned with our clients than a typical service provider, because we used to be them in a previous life. Like I said, I didn't work for the ad agency. I didn't work for McKinsey. I'm not very good at PowerPoint. I'm not giving advice in a hypothetical sense. I'm telling you what I would do when I was in your chair. I had P&L responsibility. I managed a marketing department. Clients will call me and say, I have a budget of X and here's what I need to do. And I'll look into it. I'll do some due diligence and I'll come back and I'll say, I can certainly spend X and do what you asked. However, now that I kind of understand where you are, I would spend half of X. I would do something completely different.
Yeah.
Do the market research, figure out what's going on, and then spend the other half in another area. And then down the road, if you still need that other stuff, we should get an ROI on the first investment and we can reinvest that into the project you think you need. But I don't think you need that right now. And the client's like, wow, thank you so much. Like most consultants or ad agencies would say, I'll take that check, I'll cash it, and I'll go do whatever you want. But we're not that kind of firm, because I would want a firm like ours to be my partner. I would not want to do something that a seasoned expert knows is not the best use of my funds.
Yeah. And see, that's why you and I really mesh really, really well, because I tend to do things the same way, and people will come, and I am careful not to criticize what has been done before, but I see things that have been done that are clearly not in the best interest of the client, and we'll begin to fix them. And every once in a while I'll get the question, wait a minute, this is going to mean you don't get the business, or you don't make as much money. And that they're right. But I can go to bed every night and sleep like a baby, because I know I've done the right thing. And that's what, for me, the reason, the why behind the what that I'm doing, that's it, is because I want to make some money, right? I want to feed my family and build my own retirement and build my life. But more than that, I want to have fun. And for me, I know I'm a nerd, but digging into the markets and the portfolios and figuring out, cash flows for, not just retirement, but maybe for something else, a goal that somebody has in their bucket list, and helping them fulfill that bucket list, that is just so much fun for me. And that's why I do it. And I would not be able to do that to the fullest extent at a larger company. I can't do it. I used to travel around the country for Morgan Stanley and some other large firms, and I would speak to large groups of financial advisors about portfolio management and things like that. And then I would do a one-on-one with some of them, and they're like, yeah, we kind of can't do that. The firm won't allow this, but they will allow this. And they were always trying to figure out ways around what the firm will allow them to do, because most financial advisors, I know there's some out there that give sort of all financial advisors a bad name, but most financial advisors are pretty good people, and they want to do things, but sometimes they just aren't able to because of where they work.
Right. No, I've got a million examples like that. We had a client, I don't know, in the first decade when I started the business, they signed a year-long retainer with us, a monthly retainer. And we were going into the summer months, and the CEO called me and said, I need to tell you something in confidence. We were doing PR for her business. We were getting a lot of PR for them. And she said, I just need to tell you, we're under NDA, so I'm telling you this in confidence. I'm going through some conversations and maybe selling my company this summer. It's a very excellent acquisition for us. It's going to be a huge win-win. But I know you're contacting me constantly for these reporters on deadline, and I'm worried I'm going to be a little bit distracted. And I don't want you to think I'm ignoring you. But when you reach out, if I don't respond, I just won't be able to be quoted. Keep doing your work. And I'm so sorry, I'm not ignoring you, but sometimes things are just getting really crazy with this transaction. So I said to her, wait, time out. Let's hit the pause button for a sec. How about we put the retainer on hold for the summer while you're going through the acquisition? You know, it might be 30 days, 60 days, even 90 days. And let's just restart the clock on the other side. And she said, I don't even know how to respond to that. And I said, yes or no. And she said, I've been in a business longer than you've been alive. She was kind of about to retire. She said, you would have you could have sent me that invoice for 10 grand a month, and I would have sent it to the processing, and you would have been paid all summer, and I might not have returned one of your phone calls. And you could have cashed every one of those checks, and I wouldn't have thought anything about it. And you're telling me you can hit the pause button and not get paid this summer, and then we restart in the fall, and who knows what's going on. I said, there's going to be a lot of news if you get acquired. We've got plenty of stuff to talk about, and we'll just tack those months onto the back end. It's no difference to me. And she said, I'm in shock. I would love to do that, and thank you. Well, fast forward, she does get acquired by a huge, like, Fortune 50 company. It was a win-win. And she said to me when the deal went through, she said, Paige, by the way, I gave your contract to the acquirer and told them what you did, and they were so impressed. They want to be your client now too. Like,
Wow.
she said,
Great.
you know, relationships really matter. Spending money in a smart way, like I'm spending my clients' money the way I would spend my money on my company. And it was like a win-win. Everybody benefited from it. She, conserved cash and focused her energy on what really needed to happen at a critical time. We had lots of news to do post transaction. And the new business, not only did they keep our contract, they expanded the contract. So, it
Going both
always
ways.
pays to kind of be transparent and do the right thing. I mean, I think, those lessons that your mom taught you when you were little, it's true. It's still true today.
Well, when you're just starting out as an entrepreneur, right, one of the things that I think is important is to be able to have enough funding that you aren't feeling the pressure to do extra work that doesn't need to be done. Because in my experience and what you just described to me, but it's happened to me on multiple occasions, I've made specific suggestions, take your money, put it out here. And they're like, wait, you're losing money. I'm like, yes, but it's the right thing for you. And you know what? It may take a month, it may take a year or two. They have never not come back. There's my double negative for the day. They have always, every single time I have done that, they have come back and they have brought another client, often, sometimes multiple clients to me. And on top of that, their account has ended up growing. But sometimes it does take time. But by the time you've been in business for 21 years, like yourself, you've probably got more business than you know what to do with at this point, and you're trying to figure out how to outsource it best, right? I'm just guessing.
No, I mean, I just feel like, my business comes by referral and word of mouth. And I feel very fortunate that I have a lot of people that come back and they tell people about us, and that's awesome. And I know you work with a lot of entrepreneurs, and in the
Right.
same vein of what we're talking about, a lot of new businesses come to me and say, I need a logo, I need stationery, I need business cards, I need a website, like I need all these bells and whistles. I want signage, I want it all. And what I always tell people is, again, let's hit the pause button. Let's instead of printing like fancy cardstock business cards and really watermarks on your stationery and, you know, the gold foil logo, like all the things that cost a little extra money, why don't you build a very simple website, not a lot of bells and whistles, get some, you know, professional business cards, but nothing fancy. Let's use some downloadable stationery that you can use for presentations and invoices. Let's fill your pipeline and get some testimonials. Let's get some clients, some reference people that can speak highly of you, and start greasing the wheels, start building your fan base. And then as your messaging gets tighter, as you know what services and what products are the best sellers, you know, you can test and learn and grow on the cheap. And then 6 months from now, a year from now, invest more in those fancy brochures or, you know, things that are a little more expensive. But you don't need to do that from day one. Save your pennies, fill your pipeline, build your fan base, and then come back and, you know, do the kind of bigger ticket items. But don't start there. It's not a good use of your starter money when what you really need to do is get that fire, you know, stoked.
Right. No, that's absolutely true. And there are a few things that we did when we first started out that I really wish I would have talked to somebody like you first, because I came out of, big Wall Street. I mean, I made a call and spent, $100,000,
No, I
on
know people
marketing, and
that
we
have
had
spent,
nice stuff, right?
right.
So
No,
big
that's so
change.
common. That
Yeah,
is
it's
so
a big
common.
change. You got to get used to that as an entrepreneur, but then it pays off, and then you do nicer stuff, or you may find out you never need to do that nicer stuff. People put a lot of stock into what they think will work rather than testing it and finding out what will actually work. And it's a hard process, but for me and my journey, and it sounds like you and your journey, well worth the effort. Yeah. Well, I really have appreciated talking to you and you sharing a little bit about what you do, why you do it, and the fact that it is possible, and some pretty good tips for people that are maybe thinking about doing this. Also, I'll just add here at the end, one of the mistakes that I see entrepreneurs make is that they're spending so much money on their passion. This is what they want to do, and if I just spent X number more dollars, that they forget to pay themselves. And more importantly, they forget all of the perks, frankly, that you get from being self-employed. There are things you can do on the tax planning side that a lot of them just don't think about. And there's also a lot of the things on the retirement side that you don't get a chance to do if you work for a big company. You got that 401k or whatever it might be, 403b in the bigger company, and that's all nice, well, and good. Well, guess what? Even as a small business, you can have that, and actually quite a bit more if you know what you're doing. So be sure and talk with either myself or somebody else who's qualified, who's a fiduciary financial advisor for that.
Absolutely. And I tell people that all the time. I
Yeah.
mean, outsourcing anything that is not a core competency is the best thing you can do as an entrepreneur. Focus on the stuff that you're great at, where you are strong, where you make money, where people come to you, and that you get paid well to do, and outsource anything that's not on that critical path. I don't do my, law. I don't do legal stuff. I don't do accounting. I don't do payroll. I don't do financial. I don't do accounting. I have partners that are awesome in those areas. People I trust that tell me how to save money on my taxes, that tell me, a payroll service that can run my payroll every month is way more cost efficient than hiring somebody, or for me staying up counting pennies, cutting checks. I just pay a very small fee and they take care of it. And my team gets their 1099s the first week of January every year, and they thank me profusely, saying, "You're always the first one to get me my 1099." And I say, "Don't thank
Isn't
me,
me.
thank paychecks." I
Yeah,
mean, honestly, it's like, I want to be that trusted partner. If you have marketing, branding, and PR problems, you can outsource that to me. I love doing it. I'm really good at it. It's really efficient. But if I need tax advice, if I need accounting advice, if I need help in an area that's not my sweet spot, that is not a good use of my time or money, period.
right. Just real quick example I want to give to people. There's one client that, or actually there's more than one, but one in particular I'm thinking of, had a small business doing really well, and his previous advisor had suggested that he start what they call a simple IRA. I won't get into what that is right now, but essentially you're limited in how much you can put into that, and that works fine if you're kind of just starting out. But the reason the financial advisor did that is because he got paid on that, and he was afraid he wouldn't be able to get paid or didn't know how to do it correctly to put him into something much better, which in his case happened to be a particular kind, because not all of them are the same, 401k. And it made the difference of literally over time, it is going to make the difference of over $1 million
Oh,
to
I
the
believe that.
spender
Absolutely.
in terms of tax efficient savings, as opposed to what would have been a couple 100,000. It's a
Absolutely.
huge difference. So who you talk to matters, and all of that. But that's something for another day. We'll wrap this up now. We could go on all day, I can tell, Paige. So I appreciate you being on there, folks. You guys know how to get in contact me. Text the word life. Text LIFE to 321-421-5213, or you can visit me at guardianrockwealth.com in the contact me section. We just came out with our monthly market update. It's out there on LinkedIn and our website and on all our social medias. So be sure and check that out for May, because there's a lot going on out there. And you'll probably, I just dated the podcast, which I'm not supposed to do. So you're probably going to get this podcast at the end of May. So we'll be coming out with June's, but be sure and check that out each month. And Paige, how is the best way if somebody just wants to talk to you, or maybe needs your PR services or your marketing services or consulting? How's the best way for them to contact you?
So the two best places are my website, mavensandmoguls.com. It's MAVENSANDMOGULS.com. Or you can look me up on LinkedIn. And I know I have a hyphenated last name, but LinkedIn does not hyphenate. So it's all smushed together, PAIGEARNOFFENN. And if, as one of my clients said, if you just Google Paige and Mavens, I'll pop right up. Thank God for search engine optimization. So
There you
you
go.
can find me, but you can find me through the website or LinkedIn pretty easily too.
All right. Well, thanks again for being with us. Your experience is it's huge. I'm sure it provided some great value to some folks out there today. And everyone knows you can tune into the podcast, Building Your Life with John Browning. Each week we come out with something new. I think we're on episode 170 something, I believe. We're right at 170. So keep on listening in and let me know if you've got any questions, or if you'd like to hear something specific, some specific question you'd like answered, be sure and let us know. Paige, thanks so much, and we'll talk to you again soon.